A world-class contact center. We are always trying to justify what that really means. So many of us are stuck in kind of those old school KPIs where we discuss service level and average handle time and average speed of answer and abandon times as the judge for what is a world-class contact center. All that's telling us is how efficient our agents are, how efficient our management is in our call center. What it's not telling us is what type of experience the customer had. We have failed miserably as an industry to bridge these two things together, to bridge the efficiency of the contact center with the customer experience to really provide and to show what a world-class contact center is. Well, that technology is here now. And here at Expivia, we have that technology with the help of Nice in Contact. We use the interaction analytics to create dashboards, to create data sets for all of our clients that we can now give actionable marketing data and voice of customer data, tell you exactly what trending keywords and phrases your customers are saying. We can tell you things like, what percentage of customers use the phrase too expensive or IVR issues, or really can dig into any of those good and bad phrases that your customers may be using over and over again, so that you can now actually have the data to fix things. We can actually tell you the type of attitude or the type of sentiment that your customers have when they call in with us. What percentage of your customers are really happy when they're talking about your brand, and what percentage of the customers are not. And again, we can then go back, look at those keywords, and find out what the actual problems are. Speech analytics is also, as you're about to see, totally overhauled how we do quality assurance. So before, we would just have quality managers in a room listening and randomly hearing calls, trying to find things, right? So everybody has that algorithm. 3 calls per rep per week, we got a score. Well, now we're listening to 100% of the calls. And we're scoring off sentiment, making sure that our agents are using the proper tone, using the proper delight, using the proper languages to make sure that we are providing a world-class experience, not only from the telephony metric side, but also from the customer engagement side. So let's take a look at the speech analytics platform. We can tell, overall agent sentiment. Now, just as so everybody understands, this is all fake data. We've used a couple different sources to pull data. So actually our scores are much higher normally. But this was, I think, something that we wanted to use to kind of show negativity, to show, all the pluses and the minuses of how agents can be scored and how it looks. So please just understand that as we're kind of going through this demo. So again, we can, in this sample data, 47% of the agents on the phone for this XYZ client have a positive tone, which is low. The average for us is about 70 to 75%. But on the good side, here only 10% of our calls are negative, and there's a margin of error of about 3 to 5%. So that could be a little bit even lower than that. Here's some of the cool stuff. So while we have this overall sentiment scoring, we can really dig deep into the agent level sentiment. We actually are paying our associates off positive sentiment now. So we have a culture of attitude and effort here at Expivia. And effort was always very easy to gauge and to score off of, but attitude wasn't. And now, through our sentiment scoring, we can actually pay our associates more for being polite, being kind, being delightful, having a smile in their voice while they're on the phone, which is pretty awesome. So let's look at some of the things that we can do from the agent side. Now there's a ton of things we can do here, but I think these are the ones that kind of stand out to anybody who's looking at this for the first time. So the name of this widget is End Positive. So these are the number of calls that one of your customers called in, hypothetically, with a negative or a non-positive sentiment score. So they were ticked, right? They were not happy when they called in. There was a tone in their voice. There was words that they were using that showed that they were not happy. And these are the percentage of calls and the reps that were able to turn these calls around and turn a negative customer into a positive customer, somebody who's now a little bit more loyal to your brand by the end of the call. On the flip side of this, luckily we have much more a higher amount of calls that ended positive than calls that ended negative. So these were customers that called in positive, but they ended negative. Now, sometimes we don't know what that means. Sometimes it is an agent issue that we need to fix. Other times it's, we just couldn't give them that refund that, that the business rules say we can't do. But how do we know that? Well, the cool thing is we can show all the contacts. So we can then go into all these from Jesus, and we can actually look at the calls, and we can read the transcript of the calls, and we can find out really what's happening. So another layer to make sure that anything that gets flagged negative, we're going to dig deep into it, and we're going to find out the root cause of what happened. Again, we can look at things based on the linguistics of the analytics, and also, kind of the tone and how things end up with how many agents are resolving issues, right? In this case, how many are not and have unresolved calls. And we can then, again, drill down into those. And looking at overall negative sentiment for agents and overall positive sentiment for agents. So again, we can do a lot when it comes to monitoring the tone of every agent, having every client that is out there be very comfortable, because every single week you're going to get a report that's going to show actual agent sentiment and how well we're discussing and talking to your customers. One of the things that we can do that we'll get into the other dash here is we can then look at what people are talking about. These are trending keywords and phrases that we can look at. So we can look at things like pull them out by sentiment. So these blue are positive. So they're using these words in a positive tone. These are more of a mixed, and then the red obviously is negative. So there's a negative connotation right here around renewal. And then again, we can dig deep into that by show the contacts, or we can actually look at all the words that were said and use that as a filter as well. The other really cool thing is we can look at different frustration categories. So for this, we'll just look at the agents. Let's go back to the agents. And we can see what percentage of customers or of agents have calls that are frustrating, or there's a piece of the call that the agent has frustrated the customer. So again, these are training issues. Luckily for us, these are all in this sample are all really small. So we can really, kind of drill down really into the agent level as well. And we can also look at what categories, and we'll look at this a little bit on the other dashboard of what categories have frustrated contacts. Now, we see this a lot. Patron is appreciative, because a lot of times a customer is frustrated when they call in, and our reps help them. So the higher that this patron appreciative with frustrated contacts is actually a good number for us, which we found out through some trial and error and trying to figure that out. So as you can see from an agent standpoint, you can always feel comfortable with how we're talking to your customers, the type of tone that we're using with your customers. The other kind of aspect of this that we can dig into as well is looking at more of the marketing side, right? And looking at not so much the agent side, but looking at your customer side and what your actual customers are saying. So now we just looked at what our agent sentiment was, right? Now in this example, we're going to look at what the client sentiment is. So only 27% of customers in this sample data are calling in have a positive tone, are really happy with the brand. So that's going to be a red flag for us if we see this on anyone's account. Then we're going to look at this negative score. We like to keep this, in that 12 to 13% range. So this is high, right? So what we do is we track negative sentiment over a period of time, and we try to find out why. And the cool thing about speech analytics is that you can. So now we're going to go look at what customers are talking about, and there's issues with an exam. There's trouble here, and we can actually drill down to include that, and we can find out what the trouble is. And the troubles are with renewals, with something in Texas, with certificates, with a supervisor, with a specific rep. So we can drill down into all the issues that actually have trouble related to them. So again, if you have a negative sentiment with your customers, we're going to actually be able to tell you why, and we're going to actually give you some actionable data that you can go and fix. Pretty cool. Let's reset this. The other thing that we can do is we can look again at the most unresolved contacts, and we can set specific categories up for for what you think are very important issues that need to be resolved on calls, and then we can find out what ones are not being resolved. We can find out if there's an issue with how long the call is based on handle time. A lot of different type of metrics that we can use with that. We're tracking sentiment over time. And again, here's our frustrated contacts based on the client. And again, more trending keywords and phrases. These are some things that we can actually pick out. And then we can look at the top company profile and what are some of the words that we have set up as really important words that we want to track over time. So as you can see here, not only can we give customer sentiment, we can give agent sentiment, we can give you actionable data and actual words, actual issues to fix that may be way outside the call center. So many times a contact center might get quote unquote blamed for negative CSAT, when people don't realize that it's not only the call center, but it's the self-service model, it's the IVR, it's looking at the full customer journey, giving you really, really hardcore actionable data to take back. And that's the great thing about using analytics and using a contact center like Expivia. You're not only going to have full transparency into the monitoring of your agents, but full transparency in understanding how we're talking to your agents. We're going to score all that. You're going to see that weekly. And we're going to be able to give you real hardcore data on what your customers are saying as well. So I hope that this is helpful. We appreciate if anybody's interested in taking a live demo. Please head over to expiviausa.com and just fill out a form, and we'll be more than happy to get you to quickly take a quick peek at a demo with us, and also look at some of the other contact center offerings that we do offer. Thank you. I hope you found this useful, and we look forward to showing you more about Expivia.